Welcome to the BMX News Announcers Tower podcast. I'm Mike Carruth. For the past 2 years, we have seen the work Howard Cato's Bay Area BMXers have been doing on the track, topping off 2015 with a rookie pro golden crank for Brandon Cato and a national #1 girl cruiser title for Olivia Armstrong. The on-track efforts are just one part of the work that Howard's Bay BMX team does for BMX racing. They have a popular after-school program and undertake outreach in the Bay Area to groups who don't get a lot of this kind of messaging. Over the weekend, several members of the Bay Area BMXers team put on a program demonstrating BMX racing and talking about the positive influence it has on racers and their families. This event was inside the walls of a maximum security juvenile detention facility in Alameda County, California. We're joined today by Howard Cato, Jim Schloeffel, Chris Contos, and Brian Simmons to tell us more about their after-school program in general and their visit to the juvenile facility in specific. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Stoked to have you here. So, Howard, let's jump right in. We'll start with you. Give us a little primer, if you could, on the after-school program, the Bay Area BMXers program itself, and kind of when and how all of it got started and came together to get us to this point.
Well, Mike, I'm going on our 4th year of our after-school programs that we're running here at John Muir Elementary School. It was brought to us by one of our sponsors, Troy Thompson, Kids and Mo. He's been one of our sponsors since we started, and he brought me to this about running an after-school program that the PTA was willing to help us do and be able to help our team as well establish with the kids at the school there and show them how to BMX and bicycle safety.
Great. And so generally then, are you actually taking them out to the BMX track, or are you setting up some kind of a mock environment in their, at their school, or how does it all work as far as the riding is concerned?
Now, we can't take them to the track, but what we do, we come there and we set up obstacles and stuff so they can race. We bring out plastic jumps. Occasionally, sometimes we'll bring out our starting gate and let them do gate practice with that. Line them up with 4 kids and line them up to race each other. We try to bring as much BMX to the school that we can, and some of the kids do eventually come to the track. Their parents will let their parents know where the BMX is held at, and if they can get up there, they'll show up at one of the events or so.
So what's the closest track? Is it North Bay BMX?
North Bay BMX is close in Santa Clara. I think it's around about the same amount of time frame.
Got it. Chris, let's go to you next. Your Facebook post over the weekend detailing out the experience that you and the others had at the juvenile facility was shared to us by your teammate, Virginia Lingham, and it really is an incredible story. We want to hear all about it, but before we do, how did the visit to the facility come about? I mean, I think that when BMXers hear about a group, you're going to go and address a bunch of students at a school, or even a group like Boy Scouts or someone like that. It makes sense, but juvenile inmates is definitely something that I haven't heard about before. And so tell us a little how that came about, Chris.
I'm going to have to give the credit to Howard and, the top echelon of the team with Brian and Brandon putting this together through their contacts and friends that work in certain schools, and I do believe that this is kind of through a friend that worked in the correction officer position, I think, at the juvenile hall. Howard put that together and cultivated the idea. And yes, it was a different approach for sure, getting the kids that aren't in trouble yet, and then also then moving to this level of kids that were level 4 inmates. It was I kind of thought maybe it would be more like Scared Straight, and that we were going to have to super battle for just any kind of common ground of respect. Mm-hmm. And I thought that maybe it would go the way that it did, but I was prepared to have to kind of maybe go hard, at some point, and and kind of be aggressive, and that just it didn't come up. I think that the juvenile hall thing is important because as a youth, where I grew up, I was faced with gang participation and that lure and those situations of trouble that could have led me down the exact same path they were on. And at that time in my life, BMX was in my life. I wasn't racing, but my life took a path towards music, and I pursued that for 35 years. But that definitely pulled me away from the criminal element, and that's that second opportunity that adults showed me about music, and I was able to have a choice. And I just think that those crossroads are very important for kids before they're in trouble and then even after they're in trouble, because I know that a lot of people have later in life epiphanies about BMX. I did after I came out of a coma, wanted to race. And I know that after Howard had his incident, he wanted to get back to racing. And I know it saved a lot of lives in that way. So I felt it was really important to be involved in this, to reach out to these kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jim, let me go to you next. Tell us a little about what you were told about the types of inmates you would be presenting to, and then kind of the special circumstances, or like how you would deal with those kinds of people. And then also, Brian, we're going to come to you next for a follow-up on that.
The introduction to from the corrections officers with us in the beginning about the inmates was actually, I thought, kind of limited. They really didn't say who we were going to be dealing with, or what they're there for, or what kind of general attitudes they have. Just that they were level 4 offenders, and that we need to kind of be cautious of what's going on around us, and like I think Chris touched on, if things go the wrong direction, then they'll be right there to take care of it. I think all of us were kind of surprised. Our initial impression was what appeared from a couple 100 yards down the hallway, or 100 yards down the hallway. I'll say like a chain gang of inmates surrounded by guards walking down the hallway 2 by 2 with their hands all in front of them. And we thought, wow, are they cuffed and chained? And turns out they weren't, but they were instructed that when they walk through the hallways, they're 2 by 2s and their hands are crossed in front of them. So that was a little bit intimidating, I have to admit. I think for all of us. But when we all went into the conference room, they all came in single file. They all took a seat, sat there at the table, and nobody really said anything as far as the inmates went. The COs introduced us. We all then took a turn introducing ourselves and kind of our background and history with BMX and the team and whatnot, and showed them the video, and things just really started to lighten up, and the tensions in the room just kind of dissolved away as the video went on, and as we were talking and watching the videos of the Grand National races. You can just see the excitement in most of the kids' faces that were like, hey, wow, we get to go ride bikes, Right. It was a very moving experience.
Juvenile would indicate under 18, so what were the approximate ages of your group?
They were 14 to 17.
Okay, so, and Brian, let me come to you next and talk a little about how you guys decided what type of program you would present. Like, you went in there and, obviously you guys had a plan of what you were going to do and who was going to do what. How did you decide the type of program you were going to put together for these guys?
Okay, first off, let me expound on what Chris was talking about. The question you asked Chris about how we felt about, the kids and everything. To me, those are just kids. That's how I grew up. I grew up with these kind of kids. These aren't bad kids. They aren't good. They're just kids. You know what I'm saying? I didn't see inmates, and I didn't see that. I just saw kids. I could walk out my door and see these same kids. My thing is, I was one of those kids. Howard was one of those kids. Brandon could have been one of those kids. You know what I mean? We were from the streets of Oakland, where these guys are from. They they related to us on a different level. That's why they respected us. It's not a teacher or authoritative level. It's just I can know this guy from my next door neighbor kind of level. Now, when they see that, they know that they can also do what we've done. They can also travel the whole world, not just the United States, but the entire world for free by just being good at racing bicycles or something that's different that wasn't offered to them like normally. They don't get any kind of chances like this. No kids do.
Right.
No kids from around this area do. You know, there's no tracks or skate parks around here. Very few.
Right.
So from that perspective, I didn't see inmates or any of that. I wasn't nervous or scared. All these kids were level 4, meaning I talked to the COs. The COs were telling me that some of these kids were in for attempted murder. Now, that's a 17-year-old kid in for attempted murder, yet when he's on the playground, he's a kid again. When he's on these bikes, he's a 17-year-old. He's not a convicted felon 17-year-old in the system. He's a 17-year-old on a bike. And that's the problem, because the kids never got that in their life. These are hardened criminals because they have to be because of their environment. You grow up soft, you get killed. That's sad truth about it.
Right.
So it's good to be able to bring something to these kids and show them, like, look, I came from exactly where you came from, and this is where I am now, and you don't have to be there. I told them, you can be on this side of the table one day, you know? You don't have to be on that. You're not destined to be a criminal.
Yeah.
So as far as that goes, you know, the kids, you know, it was cool. Now, we always have some kind of game plan when we go into these places. It just depends on, like, the geography of the place. Like, we weren't familiar with this. This was a straight prison yard, like with barbed wire fences and the whole nine. So we have to get in there first and see exactly how we can set this up before we kind of make a big plan on how we're going to do it. So we kind of go in by ear on the first time. And, you know, we have a little thing that we do because we have to do the helmets. We have to get the bikes and everything. And it takes a while for us to get, you know, the initiation process in there. Okay? So after that, the second time, we know the kids, we know that they can ride, they're not crashing, they're not killing each other. Then we can kind of, you know, go over a little a plan for what we're going to do.
Right. Howard, let me come back to you for a second. You know, as far as the goal for this type of program, like, I mean, obviously these are level 4 offenders, which until Brian just said so, I didn't really know what that meant. What do you hope that your program can do for these kids? I mean, are they going to actually get out soon, you know, or at some point, or are they just going directly to, you know, the adult prison system?
Well, they're getting ready to go to California. Some of them are going to the California Youth Authority, which it can only hold you up to maybe 21 to 23 years old. Yes, these kids are getting out. Yes, that at some point, these kids want to reach out. They were asking for cards. They were reaching out. When we get out of jail, how do we get in contact with you guys? My thing is, I want to be able to have a facility for these kids. When they get out of jail, if they contact me, I need to be able to react to them. Because if you let them go 2 or 3 days, they already got swallowed up by the streets already. Right. So if we don't have a place for these kids to be able to come and ride and have fun, you know, it's almost like you kidnapping the kids for some hours, letting them have fun, and they enjoying themselves, then they go home. Some of the kids, you know, like I said, my thing was, it was kind of sad that I wasn't able to come, but then on the other hand, I look at it as a way of letting my son Brandon go up in there and see what he missed out on. Cause see, I was there. I was that kid. I was in level 3. I never made it to level 4, but I was there, you know, as a kid and everything. So I knew I wanted to be able to go in there and tell these kids a story, you know, talk to them, because I knew where they were coming from. So yes, they will be getting out soon. Some of them might be going away for 2 or 3 years or so. But at that time, they had a card. And they had that Bay Area BMXers T-shirt when they do get out. Now, at that time frame, if they still young enough and they still want to, that thing BMX is still on their mind, and we have a facility for them when they get out. Yes, we can. I want to be able to help them. That's my whole key, is to work with those kids. And then, like I said, all of those kids are not going away for years. Some of them might be getting out next week. Some of them might be getting out in 3 weeks. But when they do get out, if we don't have a facility To take, like I said, even though Santa Clara might be close to me, Napa might be close for me, some parents don't have cars. So if these kids can't get to these events, how are they going to be able to find out about it? Then it's going to be like, okay, well, I don't have a car, so how am I going to do this?
Well, and that's,
I can only do so much.
Honestly, I mean, in Chicago here, we have, obviously a pretty hardcore problem, in the inner city, and I think a BMX track, just like it did in Peckham, if you remember the One Way Up film,
Yes.
And that story was,
I was just going to say that.
yeah, very inspiring, and it proved positive that it can work, and we have the same issue. We'd love, I think a BMX track in the middle of it all in Chicago could make a big difference, and hope that someone can get on that at some point. Anyway, let's come back to the interview here. Chris, I want to come back to you now and talk a little about on the day, arriving at the facility, meeting the inmates for the first time. You gave us a little picture into, how that was with, earlier with, coming down the hallway and stuff like that. Was there any kind of reluctance or hesitation or sniffing each other out kind of on either side? And then tell us about the material actually that you guys, presented. What was the actual drills or the kinds of things you actually did?
Like Jim had said, they came in and there was a pretty rapid breakdown of tension because the video that we showed, the highlight reel, it had some music bumping in it, and it was a giant projection on a wall in front of them, and they dropped the lights, and then they got to watch us racing, and they got to hear some music, and I just think it lightened the mood. And I think the very first, the thing that was heavy for me is I wasn't aware of, right as they were filing out to go outside to see the bikes, one of the COs told me this might take a minute to adjust because they haven't been outside in a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, whoa. And he said, yeah, they work out in the multi-use room, the basketball court with the skylights. And that hit me pretty hard. And then one of the first things out of the kids' mouths, the tall kid and his friend looked around the corner and saw the grass, and there were some birds. And he said, look, bro, some birds. And then his buddy said, oh, there's another one. So they were feeling the sun and feeling the grass and the green, and there were these crazy-ass sheep up on the hill that were just bah, bah, the whole time. So they were, tripping on that a little bit, and the shirts came off, and the sun was on them, and they saw the bikes, and they saw the helmets, and we made them do some calisthenics and some squat walks and some lunges and just stretched out a little bit. And like I had said before, they got the helmets all together. They got on their bikes. We did a couple little bike checks, and then it got a little squirrely. They all started going all over the place, and then it was just a fluid circle of them just doing laps around these 4 basketball courts that we had. It was 2 basketball courts, so we just had them going around the outside of the pads. Now, it was cool because the basketball pad poles were all padded, so they could get inside the cones. We set up some cones, and they were racing. I mean, they were, like Brian said, they were kids on bikes again. And there wasn't frustrations, there wasn't teasing, there wasn't any bullying. We just quickly paired them up and then did a quick little bracket. The winners sit over here, then everybody else races again, then we'll have a final little race. It was loose. No one really cared about, I won, and it was just kids on bikes.
We did those pedals, the one pedal, the pedal starts, you just keep them at, the kickstand starts. They just had a great time, man. Those kids had so much fun riding those bikes that time that they were talking about it on the way back in. Like, I can't wait. When are you guys coming back? Some of the kids were getting out. Like, well, we're getting out. I might get out next week. How do I get in touch with you? And it was like, it was sincere. They really had like a great time doing it. So dope.
Yeah.
Yeah. In my letter, I wouldn't have said that, or my little post, I wouldn't have said that I think they really saw another path. I mean, I wouldn't have played around with that. I really meant that. I felt that in their eyes, in some of their eyes, and really, they were jazzed and motivated. And I bet they slept and had crazy dreams that night,
But also, Chris, this too. Remember, those dudes in there's some real lost athletes in jail, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
these
yeah.
kids were riding bikes. You would have thought they were on at least the intermediate level. This one kid had never ridden a bike before in his life, and he swore to God he raced motorcycles, or he rides motorbikes, dirt bikes around the streets of Oakland. Doesn't even race them. This kid jumped on the bike. He's bunny hopping. He's mashing. He's pushing fools in the walls. I mean, it was like, whoa. You never rode a bike before? Are you kidding me? It's so sad how much lost talent is in jail.
So, Howard, back to you for a moment. The actual event itself was through a connection that you had from what I understood from our earlier some of the earlier questions, and then a CO, a corrections officer is what I think that means, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So how did it come about then? Like where you guys actually decided, hey, we need to bring this program to your facility, and then also was this kind of like a reward for good behavior kind of thing, or how were these guys selected?
Well, we've been talking. Me and a friend of mine, Derek Bedford, put this together. We've been working on this for about a year, but both of us been busy, and he came together when I had my documentary, and he came and spoke on my documentary for me, and we had talked a little bit, and he said, man, it's getting time for, we need to start talking about coming up there and setting the program together. So I went up there and met with him, and we got some things settled in, what we were going to do and how we were going to do it, and how many kids it was. He had broke it down to me that it was going to be level 4. So I pretty much knew what I was going to be dealing with and everything. And the thing was, we put this out, and it finally came together. We had, it was supposed to be 16 kids. So the thing, I guess 3 kids that got into some trouble early in the week, so they wasn't able to come. My thing was, when I talked to the counselors, then I let them know. I said, okay, as we come up there, I said, when they get ready to come back the second week, when it's time to come back, let these kids know that if they get in trouble, they're not going to be able to come back to the program that following Saturday. So I think the effect that Brian, Brandon, Chris, and Jim left with them kids over the weekend, they've been talking about this all weekend.
Right.
When they went in, that's all they were talking about. So I'm looking to see that I don't think that these kids want to get back in trouble. They want to be able to come back outside.
Yeah.
You got to understand, like I said, they haven't been outside. So now, during the week, my thing is to do some update, check on these kids, make sure they're doing okay. So, in the next couple of weeks when we go back up there, we want to make sure that these kids are coming out, and if the other 3 that had got in trouble, maybe they know now that was a good program going outside there, so they want to be a part of it too, so they're not going to get in no trouble. So that's the main thing, is to make sure that these kids during the week, that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, so
Right.
we can come back up there and see them again.
So you're going back this coming Saturday, is that right?
Not this Saturday, next Saturday.
Okay.
But even in jail, they have something that you can take away from them that they cherish, and that's what they need. They don't have that on the streets.
Right.
They have to have something that they want to do that can be taken away if they act bad.
Yes. So, Jim, tell us how the day ended up. Like, after everything was finished, the program was done, time to start, breaking things down and saying goodbye to the inmates. What was that like?
Wow, it was again a very moving experience. Toward the end, one of the COs, when the clock was running down, one of the COs, basically yelled out, "Okay, everybody line up, single file, blah blah blah." COs put on gloves, rubber gloves or whatever, surgical type gloves, and lined the kids up, and all the kids got searched, and you could kind of see the light that was, just beaming in these kids dwindle away and turn down. Although they were still talking about things, they were still happy, but it was very humbling to see kids being kids,
Yeah.
and then being treated like an adult prisoner and getting searched and frisked before they can walk back into the facility.
Yeah, kind of a back to reality kind of moment, I guess, right?
For them, that is their reality,
Yeah.
which is a shame. But in the end, the 4 of us lined up, shook every one of the kids' hands, fist bump, pat on the back, told them, hey, I told them, hey, stay straight. We'll be back. It'd be great to see you back out here again. Every one of those kids was so appreciative of the time they got to spend and the fun that they had, and I can guarantee they're all looking forward to getting back out there again. Like Brian was saying, they've got that to look forward to, and if that keeps them on the straight and narrow while they're in the next 2 weeks, and they can get back out there again, that reward for good behavior is just going to teach them something, and hopefully it all goes well and they're all out there. But it was tough. It was tough seeing kids go from being kids to being prisoners again.
Right.
For us.
Right.
I think for all of us.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So Brian, once you guys cleared the walls of the facility and the gig was over, and what was the talk like in the van or at the dinner table or whatever? I mean, among yourselves, what was the discussion like?
So we didn't know what to expect going into that because, it was the whole juvenile thing, but we were just as happy as the kids. We were like, man, we couldn't wait to go back. That's all we were telling each other. Man, we had so much fun. I can't wait back. And it was just like, damn, I wish Howard was here. That was just right there. I wish I could see how happy these kids were because that's what he lives for. I mean, this is just like, it was crazy. We want to go back.
Sure.
To juvenile hall. Absolutely. We had a great time, man, and we love teaching the kids. It's more than just teaching; it's a mentoring thing because you have to teach these kids. It's a lifestyle you have to get out of and into a new one, right. And it's a hard transition, But you got to show them that there are paths that can do this, and then you can get out and you can get a little job, or you can do, you can do this and that, and we can help you do this if you just stay straight and narrow. And so, the talk is just rehabilitating these kids, man, and just doing whatever we can and coming up with a better curriculum and, stuff that we can do that's new to keep it fresh, to keep these kids out of trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that is just quite a story, and definitely will be keeping an eye on your revisit to the facility. But we're almost out of time, so I want to go around the table one last round and ask if there's anything that each of you would like to add to the interview. So we will go Howard, Jim, Chris, and Brian. So Howard, why don't you start it out?
First, I want to thank you for having us on the show today, Mike.
Thank you.
Also, I just want to reach out and thank Derek, my friend Derek Bedford, for giving me the chance to bring my program up into the juvenile facility, and hope that like I said, I'm praying. My goals is to be able to go out and reach other juvenile hall facilities as well, and not only that, but try to push my goal to try to get me a facility. I'm not going to stop until I get me a facility where I have an after-school program for kids to come, and that's my whole push right now, is to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it seems
Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like one of the big hurdles to these types of offenders, if you want to call them that, is if once they're released from the facility, they go back to the street, and then those old habits, the old crowd is there, and so it's just real easy to fall back into those old habits, right? I mean, I guess that's the big problem, big challenge.
And one other thing, just to let people know that although I wasn't able to be there right now, my paperwork is in. I'm getting everything straightened out where I said within another month and a half, my whole record will be clean from everything that I've done in my life, and I'll be able to get back up into these kids' lives. So, like I said, I wasn't really that mad about it or saddened about it. I think it was more that I was happy that Brandon was able to go up in there and see that,
right.
And be able to try to run a little bit and show, give something back, what I gave to him. So I'm happy with that. So
that story of your past, is that something that's explained in the documentary?
Yeah, some of it, yes, pretty much. Yeah, I couldn't, they didn't go into full details on it, but, I'm not ashamed of my past. I think my past made me a better person than what I am today, and everything. And I just tell people that, you can change. So, just never judge anyone if you don't know them. I don't judge anyone. I just, if your attitude is good with me, I'm good with you. So, I'm definitely can't wait to get back up in there and get in there myself.
you know.
Sure. So, Jim, why don't we come to you next? Final thoughts?
Well, I just, I just want to start again by thanking you for having us on. I think getting programs like this out there, getting people to hear about it, most importantly, getting people to donate to the programs in any way, shape, or form that they can. I know after Chris's post on Facebook, we had a little shout out on a local radio station here a couple weeks ago, and just from those things that have happened, I know people have offered to donate bikes that they've had sitting around forever or whatever, and that's wonderful. That's what we need. It just helps the program move forward, which is the goal. The ultimate goal, like Howard said, is to get a facility, someplace where the kids can go, someplace that's in Oakland and easy to get to for these kids that they got a place to go. Keep them out of the streets. Teach them a better way of life. Personally, I'm completely honored to be part of this team and helping out and giving back. It's just a really fulfilling thing for me.
Chris, go ahead.
Well, I again want to reiterate how much I appreciate and thank you for having us on the show, and it's really an honor for sure. I'm entering my third year of BMX, and my very first instinct when I came into the sport was the importance of having an inner city BMX track somewhere between Fremont and Richmond. Riding my bike and getting used to the 20-inch all around Oakland, and my whole time living here for 35 years, I've seen kids without broader and more expansive opportunities, and I think I've seen more kids on BMX bikes in that conundrum than anything. They're everywhere. These bikes are everywhere. These kids can ride them. All of these kids rode their butts off the other day out of nowhere. It was totally amazing. And I was super inspired by the One Way Up documentary and the Peckham BMX facing their youth crisis there. It fixed that, and it also gave all those kids an opportunity to hide there. And when they get out, like we were talking about earlier, have a place to come and just disappear there. Disappear in the training, disappear in the camaraderie and the companionship they can find, the friendship, the trust, the competition, the self-growth. And I just really feel strongly that the powers that be in BMX and the people that are in BMX and the community need to come together and somehow get inner city tracks, because all these tracks are an hour and a half away. They might as well be New York, when actually these kids don't even get out of the very general area they're in usually. Right. So that's my main thing. And also I'm just extremely honored to be a part of 510 Bay Area BMXers. And I'm just going to keep being a warrior for this team and doing the best I can and sharing my experience with other people with BMX.
Awesome. Well said, definitely. Brian, why don't you close it out?
Well, I want to thank you again for giving us this avenue to, get this out here. We just need, like Jim said, we need help. You know what I mean? This is a small operation. This is a team. The thing that people don't realize is the 510 team and this, even though they're connected, they're two complete different entities. The 510 team, we use that to get, notoriety to make this program work. We need donations on a whole nother level, because this is coming out of pocket for most of this, from Howard and, most of the team members. And in order for us to continue this, we really need help. That's why we've gone to the news stations. I know there's other people out there that are doing similar stuff, and it seems like they're getting help, but I don't know why we're not getting any help, like the help that we need. I just hope that people will hear this and know that this has nothing to do with the racing team. This is, even if the team goes away tomorrow, we're going to still do this.
Right.
Yeah. So this is an inner city. This is what the nonprofit is for. Our nonprofit, the team is a nonprofit, but it's not for 510 Bay Area BMXers. It's for this. I just want to hope that people will see that there's a difference in there. We're not using money that's donated to us for our team riders. You know what I mean? Because that's where it kind of gets misconstrued sometimes. People think that we're like, because we got a good team or everything, that we got all this money. We don't have money. We need money. We need money to continue doing what we're doing behind the scenes, what most teams don't do. We're putting our money where our mouths are, where most people just talk about it. So that's my hope in this whole thing.
Yeah, well, it definitely helps to know that, because I myself didn't really understand the differences.
Yeah, that's it, definitely.
Well, the experience that you guys have just told, it makes for a heck of a story, and I'm really glad that you were willing and able to come on the show today to tell us more about it in depth, and to share your inner feelings about it all and how it touched you deep down. Really, that helps really drive it home for us, and I hope that as time goes by, we can, have you all back on the show to give us updates as to how the program is going, both the after-school program and any other outreach that you guys do. And I'd just like to personally thank you all for the work that you've done out there, and want to say keep doing it. We need more people like you all. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
And for the listener, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Mike Carruth, and we'll see you next time on Announcer's Tower.